Botany Manor is a delightful new puzzle game with a botanical twist, taking players around a sprawling mansion and its grounds as they try to sprout rare plants. The title comes from Balloon Studios, a developer founded by Laura DeMay, who previously worked on other unique puzzlers like Assemble with Care, and cozy-centric publisher Whitethorn Games. Though it's a very short journey, Botany Manor still manages to be memorable, and provides a laid-back solving experience that's quite relaxing. Players will travel back to the late 1800s and step into the shoes of botanist Arabella Green, who's returned home to her family's manor after a long trip. Arabella is working to assemble 5 chapters of an herbarium book on forgotten plants, each one corresponding to the game's 5 sections, though the first is just a short tutorial. The whole game can be completed in a handful of hours, with 12 total plant puzzles to solve across the grounds with varying levels of complexity. The game is divided into several chapters corresponding to a research book that Arabella is filling out, with a view to submitting it for publication. I say Arabella is almost wholly untroubled as you can. If you pay attention, discover letters or articles that tell the story of how Arabella's expertise was passed over in favor of, or even entirely stolen by, less talented men over the years. Because botany is a science and Victorian women should get married and do embroidery. It's a story that suggests a full but frustrating life, but it does make the conclusion sweeter if you're following along. Each area of the manor and its lovely grounds has a couple of plants for you to grow, with an inventive and interesting way of going about it. In order to work out what each seed needs, you gather scraps of journals, posters, letters, and more that act as clues. Then you enter them in your herbarium and complete each entry. There are so many well-thought-out puzzles to help the flora flourish, from sticking them in a smokehouse, pressing apples into the soil, and snapping pictures of them with a Victorian flash powder camera. You start off on the grounds, in a hothouse, and swiftly make your way through gardens to the sprawling manor itself, and beyond to an orchard and up into the attic with keys you find strewn around the place. Each plant in Arabella's herbarium has a set number of clues to be assembled for each plant, which together will illuminate how to make it grow. Options for these slots will fill as players explore the manor, and can constitute a wide array of objects. Old letters, newspaper clippings, artwork, old souvenirs, fairy tales, and more can all be sources of information, and they can be picked up and rotated for closer inspection. Once properly assembled, the clues in the book will be set into place permanently to signal that it's planting time. Once each entry is fully realized, players can head to one of the planting tables scattered around the estate to fill a pot with dirt, plant the seed, and water it before doing whatever secondary steps are necessary for full growth. Without giving too much of the game's specific solutions away, these are always something delightfully creative, like playing music or showing the right combination of lights that mimic the plant's growth conditions in the wild. The only herbarium system downside is the information gleaned from clues can't be read there once found, necessitating in some backtracking. It's not just plants that you learn about here. You get a sense of who Arabella is and what her life is like. She's now an older lady and has been working with plants for a while, though this hasn't been without its drawbacks. There's a sub-story here showing that certain education and career bodies won't accept her because she's a woman, though the very fact she now has her own forgotten flora book shows that she's proven them all wrong. In terms of how the game looks and feels, it's delightful. It's got a nice and unintrusive soundtrack that lets you know when you do something right with a nice tinkle of strings, and the graphics are nice and bright. I recommend turning the camera sensitivity down just a teeny bit, but that might just be my own eyes preference. My only gripe per se is that I would like a menu screen to see all the clues I've picked up laid out at once. You can see the names of them on each entry's page, but you can't click them and read them. This means you need to backtrack through the albeit lovely manor to locate the specific items and reread them. Again, not a huge problem by any means, I'm just forgetful and need constant reminders of what I'm doing. It's a small game comprising of around 5 or 6 hours, but one without an ounce of fat on it. The team at Balloon Studios designed a faultlessly tight experience that I really cannot say anything negative about. It is to my remarkable surprise that not only did I enjoy Botany Manor, I found it to be so enthralling that I finished it in a single day. I still feel as if the majority of cozy games are simply not for me, but I am incredibly glad that I took the chance on this one. It's perfect, and as it has a day 1 release on Game Pass, I implore anyone with a subscription to the service to give it a look. It may surprise you too. Oh, and before I forget, Botany Manor has a nice selection of accessibility options that make the game easier to control and can help with motion sickness. Field of view, a setting to control character movement with one stick, toggle buttons for sprinting and zooming, all these are well appreciated. I should mention that the overworld has a few visual glitches here and there, nothing bad, but the HDR implementation is not good and crushes all the color from the final image, as you can see in the first gallery. I recommend turning it off when playing this game. Botany Manor runs very well on Switch, though the initial load time can be a little long, but no matter. Go and furnish yourself with a cup of tea, and then settle in. This is definitely another game I can enjoy wrapped up on the sofa, or even when traveling, as it isn't too time-consuming and can be dipped into whenever you want. It's definitely one of 2024's most relaxing puzzle games so far. And I found myself thinking about Arabella and her strange plants even after I'd finished the story. Overall, if you like plants and puzzles, I highly recommend picking up this whimsical game.